Okay, so our last storyteller of the afternoon, Roxie Barringer.
June 30th, 2013 was a day that I will never forget. It was a day when a devastating wildfire came rushing towards my family, my home, and my community in Peoples Valley. 2 days before, on a Friday, the 28th, there was a lightning strike. We have monsoons all the time. We get lightning strikes, we don't think anything about them. So it was no big deal. We saw smoke, but didn't think much about it. Saturday morning started, and it was a normal Saturday. We had our 3-year-old granddaughter for the very first time with Grandma and Grandpa. So we just kind of puttered around the house and played a little bit. But meanwhile, we always kind of kept our eyes out on that fire that was kind of south of us. And it was quite a ways away, but we are in Arizona, and we do worry. Sunday morning, we woke up. I was ready for the day. Let's go to church. So Tess and I, we got up and got ready and came into Prescott to church. Well, Russ, my husband, said, I don't feel good leaving the place. How about if I'm just going to stay here and keep an eye on the place, and it'll be fine. Well, about 9:30, I get a call. We were about on our way home, and Russ is saying, get home and get home now. Okay, so as we come into our driveway, into our home, and he's got the trailer's loaded. He's got the motorcycles loaded. I can see the photo albums are loaded, the computer's loaded, all the important papers. He's ready to go. And he says, well, you've got a minute. Run in and see what you want to grab. So I run in the house and I stand there, stand still and look. What do you grab? You've got minutes. Your whole life is in that home. Yeah, the big stuff's gone, but the little stuff is where our heart is, isn't it? There's that quilt that his blind grandmother hand quilted. There's that clock that my brother gave us for a wedding present 47 years ago. There's all this stuff that's close to my heart, and I have seconds to grab it. Well, I honestly can't even tell you what I grabbed. But I left, and we started getting down the driveway. And at the bottom of our driveway, we have about 20 acres. And at the bottom of our driveway was a fire official. And he was saying, oh, I was just coming to tell you to evacuate. We're evacuating your whole area first. And Russ said, there's no way. We're out of here. That's a killer, and we are going. And before we left, we turned around to the fire official and said, our house is unlocked, so if you need to get in it, get in it. We've got a nice cleared area. He knew our home. And we said, well, we don't have any animals, but we do have fish, an outside pond. So if you get a chance and you're up there, would you feed them? Sure. And we take off. So we're going over the dirt road to try to get to the paved. And as we're driving, I look in my rearview mirror, and the fire, I thought, had been quite a ways from us. And I see the fire cross the road in my rearview mirror. It was just like a finger that was coming out. There was no going back to our home. We didn't leave the area. We went a couple hills over because we wanted to keep an eye on our home to see, and the fire, what was going to happen. We're sitting at a friend's home, watching the fire come towards our house, and it's coming faster and faster. About 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we're sitting there, and the most wonderful sight that I've ever seen in my life. A DC-10 comes over, right over our home, and dumps an entire load of fire retardant. And that quick, the winds changed 180. They had been coming towards us, and it flew back south. The wind was going back to Yarnell, 40 to 50 miles an hour. on new fuel. And it was at that time that we lost our firefighters, the Granite Mountain hotshots. We didn't know anything about it at that time. It wasn't until the next day that we found that out. But as we sat there, we could hear propane tanks popping. Pop, pop, pop. The fire kind of calmed down a little bit. It was there again. It was going south away from us. It was all burnt around us, so we weren't worried. We went to bed, at least for a couple hours. At about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, we heard sirens and alarms saying, evacuate, evacuate Peoples Valley, evacuate. And so I pick up Tesla off the floor and I say, honey, we're going on a trip, let's go. And we walk out of that house, and it was night. It was eerie, it was so eerie. The smoke was so heavy that you could taste it. And as I looked over on the hill beyond our house, you could see the fire was breathing. It was moving along the side. It was the most eerie thing I'd ever seen. So we get in our car and we go on to Phoenix. Well, we're down there, and there's hardly any communication coming out. We don't know what's going on. We knew some of our friends' homes had been burned. We didn't know if our home had been burned. We didn't know who had been hurt. We were just getting a little bit of what was going on. It was 5 days before we had permission to go back. And as we're driving, by this point we knew our home had been saved. But until I could see it with my own eyes, I wanted to know it. And as we come up over that hill, we had been driving through a moonscape where the fire had come across that road when we were leaving, it was all ash. There had been pine trees and sage. It had been beautiful. And now all that was there was a couple inches of sand, of ash, boulders, and these black stumps that were there. And we come over that hill and we see our home. Wow. We've made it. So we drive down, and as we're coming up, we cross into our property, and there's a sign there that a firefighter had wrote, and it said, "Home okay, feed the fish." Yeah. Now, fight, flight, or freeze. Some of our neighbors stayed. Some of them decided, I'm going to get out there with that hose, and I was going to do it. Boy, not us. We ran. You can replace a home. We had cleared the land ourselves. We had built the home ourselves. That can be redone. That can be rebuilt. We'd even built a steel home because, as Russ said, it's not if, it was when a fire was coming. But we could not rebuild that 3-year-old sweet granddaughter of ours, my husband or ourselves. We were thankful and glad to run. Thank you.
Wow, I made it from a different perspective, an event that we all know. Roxie still lives in Peoples Valley, and so she's come a long way to tell that story here. Well, a long way, a decent way. Okay, but came via Montana, of all places, and has been in the area for 24 years. Has been a quilter for over 40 years, a self-described adrenaline junkie. She once walked across England for her 60th birthday, and just because it was there. Growing up, wanted to be a genie, but couldn't find the right outfit. So now she spends her time with her grandkids, traveling, gardening, volunteering. She is a Meals on Wheels delivery driver and is the local community board president as well. Thank you, Roxie.